how they're taught to, especially youth, they're really like based off of scaring people into willingly doing things.
Do you think it was that way at all the time?
Um, like in history.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely as a tool, but like, as I became an adult though, I realized that, I have like religious friends that are like very like, oh, praise God, praise God. And like, they're cool.
Yeah.
So I never really, you know, like my idea of religion has like changed a lot
Well, to
since.
me, like, yeah, I mean, I think religion's like the outer expression of spirituality, but the catch-22 about spirituality is there's no way to perfectly manifest it in the physical world.
That's one thing that I've really thought about is that, I think our idea of death and afterlife, we really can't, because like we are what we perceive and what our senses are and
Right.
everything,
Yeah.
like all of our senses. And so it's hard for us to imagine this concept of dying and going somewhere because we can't perceive that realistically with our senses now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to I mean, it's just like a weird concept, and I think that's why religion is a weird thing because you're trying to approach this thing that's totally unexperienceable until it happens.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then so we're all just kind of guessing and just hoping that for the best a little bit,
Yeah.
and like
But
preparing for the worst.
just like the idea of dying, I think about it daily.
Yeah, yeah.
I think about dying daily, and I'm just like, sometimes it scares the hell out of me, and sometimes I'm like, let's go, babe! Like, I'm ready! And so it's just, like, it's hard to just imagine, like, going back to, like, because you don't remember what it was like before you were born, and
Right.
people say that that's what it's like when you die, or at least that's, like, a theory.
Yeah.
And it's just really hard for me to, like, perceive that going through what I've gone through over the past few decades. And it's crazy. But when you know, it's easy to get lost in like thinking about death and thinking, "Oh my God, it's so grim and gruesome."
Yeah.
But the other thing too is like everything in existence, like in the universe, like from planets to blades of grass to animals, even fire and water, like
Right.
those type of elements, they don't go away.
Right.
Nothing ever disappears from existence. It's just some form of matter that transitions into another form of matter.
Right.
And so, if you believe in like the fifth element, which is ether, which is like this emotion and all of that, like that's beyond the chemicals that are inside your body, then like this ether that you have, which is like, kind of, you could also see it as your soul,
Right. Right.
it has to transition into something else.
Right.
Otherwise, it doesn't exist. But, I mean, I believe that it exists. There's something about us that we're tapping into
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that like chairs and cameras and tables like do not tap into this
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
ethernet, like this work,
It's weird that we all kind of know it's there. Even the people that don't believe in God kind of know there's something weird. There's connection between us somehow.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it's like you can't fault somebody that is dogmatically religious because obviously there's some merit to that connection, and they're just trying their best to enhance that connection as best as they can. And sometimes they get blinded by the motion of going to church and doing all the steps to get connected that they lose sight of what the actual job of spirituality is, or becoming closer.
And I think the other thing about like religion too, and the big thing that nobody never really talks about is community.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that I really really loved when I was younger and going to church was there's just a strong community. And I have
Dude.
never been to a church ever that hasn't been open and accepting of just newcomers. Now, of course, I'm pretty like default settings
Yeah.
type of person, you
Right.
know, like
Right.
mentally and physically.
Right.
So, you know, it's gonna be, you know, I know it's a little bit harder for some people to be accepted in certain communities, but like, you know, like I've never came across like a religion where they're like, yo, you gotta go.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
Just by looking at me.
And you know what's funny is that kind of brings me to like what I imagine was going through the people that started the United States.
Mm-hmm.
This idea that you have to separate this worshiping of this unknown being that we don't really know is there. We just kind of, everyone has their own way of
It's a
approaching it.
hunch.
And yeah, it's a hunch. And we have
Yeah.
to separate that from how we govern ourselves.
Yeah.
We can't, obviously they weren't perfect at it. And they too fell victim to the cultural issues and the cultural standards of the time. But the beauty of what they were trying to do was separating this worship of this God from the organization and operation of a community.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the United States was a beautiful thing. And I think, unfortunately, that idea has kind of gone away. I know Christians in general try to, you know, they almost assume that the United States was made for them and this is a Christian nation. And like the guys that started it were for sure Christian and they probably had their desires to worship Christianity in the way that they believed.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea wasn't to start this country for Christians. It was for anybody that decided they wanted to worship some form of being, without being discriminated against. And I think that idea is important. And I think that's something that we don't want to lose, because obviously I agree that there's something to be worshipped, but I don't agree with forcing people to live a certain way based on what you believe rather than what I believe,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I do think that though there's religion is a good base work though for it's like a good framework
yeah.
for laws and rules and government because a lot of rules from even way back then, like a lot of this stuff kind of stemmed from religion, like not hurting anybody or infringing on anybody else.
I mean, it comes from spirituality, I think. I don't
Yeah.
think it comes from religion. I think
Okay.
when you're connected to like that understanding that we are not just individuals, but also a community of connected beings through this ether that you're talking
Mm-hmm.
about, you naturally don't want to kill people and you naturally don't want to screw people over,
No.
and I mean, I would assume, and if you lose that connection and you're not doing the steps to get close in whatever way you need to, then you start to think as an individual and you start to make those choices that are bad. And the government or like an organization is, in my mind, this group of people that kind of agree like, hey, let's at least protect the the general basis of life. We don't want people to kill each other.
Yeah.
We don't people we don't want people treated unfairly. And I think if you kind of stick to that base model and you allow people to get close to God or whatever
Mm-hmm.
you want to call it, then it works out.
The thing about today's like framework as opposed to the frameworks from like older governments, I do kind of feel like a lot of those like faith-based governments, the way that they govern society and law was based on protecting assets. Whether rather here it's protecting, people.
Yeah,
It-
yeah. That's the
yeah,
general idea.
yeah,
And I
and
think we've gone away from that, unfortunately.
mm,
I think it's pretty obvious that we've gone away from it. But again, the original idea was a beautiful idea, and I think it was done well for a long time. But it's kind
yeah.
of it's getting corrupt, obviously.
I
But
mean, when has society never been corrupt?
well,
I don't know a single society that's never been like, hey, you know what? This person wouldn't miss these $2 off of their nightstand. It's always gonna happen.
yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like it's
It's impossible. That's where like cycling comes in. That's where like the whole natural cycle of like these rise and flows, the rise and falls of society, and just kind of the reset button kind of things that happen. That we're kind of in a one right now, where we're kind of on a reset. I feel like to
yeah.
kind of get clear it out and go towards the next goal.
I don't know. See, how long do you think a reset is? Because I've always thought that a reset was like a couple years, and now like shit's different. But nowadays, I feel like we're gonna go through a reset over the next decade or two. It feels like.
I don't know. Yeah, I think definitely like you read in books about this kind of like if you read books about the reset, it's usually not more than 4 years.
Yeah. Oh, really?
I mean, 4 to 5 maybe, where like we go through hard times, and then obviously it's not like 4 or 5 years of struggle, and then all of a sudden we're back to normal and perfect again.
Yeah.
It's just
I
like
wish it was like
there's
that.
a drop, but then it stops dropping, and we rise again, and we keep rising, and it goes for usually.
Yeah. It's like stocks.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
just goes up and down, and like, oh, today was a great day.
Exactly.
There was a massive crash.
Yeah, totally.
People are fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think technology is definitely agitating
Yes.
a lot, and not just technology like computers. I'm talking communications,
Yes, for sure.
instant communications. I mean,
Yeah.
like it is so. I mean, like, it's so easy for me to look up my cousins, uncles, brothers, opinion on the 2020 election. And it's so easy for me to find it and then like say shit about it. And like
Yeah.
I think we've never gone through this type of like community before. And because we've always never, I mean, how often have you talked to your wife's friend's cousin about politics?
Yeah.
You really don't. You never have. Like, if you lived as a farmer back then in the 1600s, or even if you go back even further, no one ever really discussed so far outside of their circle.
Right.
And now we're just broadcasting these ideas. And like with the way how Facebook works, especially,
Yeah.
like if I comment on something that has this buzzword that you've been commenting on that buzzword, and we're friends on Facebook, you're going to see my comment and this person's status whom you don't even know.
Yeah.
And so now it's connecting us in a way that really isn't genuine. A lot of the connections
Yeah.
aren't genuine anymore.
I think we're gonna learn and evolve to work with it. I think we're going through a struggle because it is brand new and it is really moving fast.
Oh yeah,
But-
and in 15 years, our kids are gonna look back at us and they're gonna just cringe.
Yeah, totally. Same way we look back at, people in the United States that started the country. We're looking back and we're like, okay, maybe that wasn't so smart. But
Like how
here we are.
Slavery was such an like, and nowadays slavery is such an archaic idea.
Totally.
And it's like, dude, if you have slaves, you're like,
Yeah.
you're not just racist. You're stupid. You're morally stupid.
Yeah.
And I feel like nowadays, today are gonna, people like 30 years from now, 40 years from now, they're gonna look back at us and be like, "You guys are really dumb,"
Totally.
and they're gonna go through their issues. So fuck them, Fuck
Yeah.
you guys for judging us.
Yeah, I mean,
Hate
and that's where
that.
it's like you gotta.
Everyone struggles through life.
There's literally nothing you can do. Just try your hardest.
Yeah.
Try to get try to meditate regularly and figure out what's the best path for you.
Yeah.
And then just let it go, and like hopefully hopefully the future is a little bit more merciful to you than not.
Yeah. But I mean, we're on this roller coaster. There's
Yeah,
never been a great time to live,
it
really.
is.
And if there was, it was shitty losing it. I don't think there
Yeah,
was a solid 80-year period where everybody lived from like humility and glee to humility and glee, and that's it. And that was their life. And today really is the best time to be alive.
it is a good
It
time
really is. I mean,
in
we
general.
have
Yeah, yeah, for
like, I
sure.
mean, every single spring, I always give it up to Mr. Carrier. I think that's his name. He invented air conditioning,
Oh yeah, that's dope.
and it's just like, he's a real fucking patriot.
Yeah, yeah.
I consider him one of. I don't even know what country he's from. He could be from the United States. He could be from Europe. I don't know, but I consider him a goddamn American legend. And
Yeah, he started. It's an important invention that really opened the door for us to live this life indoors and
oh
be,
yeah,
and it's for better or for worse. I can go through the winter and pretend like it's summer, and I can
yes,
go through the summer and pretend like it's
you
winter,
can.
and it doesn't change. There's a few moments where you're outside and you're walking around, sure, but I don't have to change my daily schedule to adapt to the weather, and that's
No, you
that's a huge
don't.
thing.
Yeah.
Because there was a time
And
when
that's
you,
recent.
yeah,
That's recent. Like
yeah,
a couple hundred years, before then people were like, well, winter's going to be here. Kids, I'm going to sit you down and let you know Jimmy's not making it. He gets too
yes,
cold too easily.
and you just have that
He's sick all the
you
time.
just huddling in the house all day, like,
Oh,
and that's
God.
where you're like reading. That's where people get really crazy about reading the scriptures. Imagine being stuck in your house almost all day for like 2 months, and like, what are you gonna read and meditate on? Like, you have to have,
The Bible.
yeah, exactly. Like, what's literature that you have? Most people only have the
If you can
Bible.
read.
Yeah,
That's the other thing.
totally.
You can't just like, also you have to learn stuff in such an old-fashioned way. I mean, I fixed my car the other day. Thank you, YouTube.
Yeah.
And like, there's no way that I'd be able to like, oh, 3 weeks, it's gonna be cold as fuck. I gotta build a house.
Oh yeah.
I'm looking at my wife and I'm gonna tell her the truth. Yo, we gonna die.
Yeah,
You
totally.
gotta find another man quick.
Dude, but you know what's funny is we're not as physically strong, but imagine what those people would do if they had the power of God like in their hands. I mean, the phone. If those people with their limited understanding of the world were given a phone where they can have infinite amount of porn and all this crazy
Their
stuff,
heads
they
would
would
blow up.
they would do it, and they would go
They
crazy.
would be just like how kids are. I'm sure you've given a 4-year-old an iPad for the first time in their
Dude,
life.
totally.
It would be the same.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like,
whoa. Or they'd be so uninterested in it.
yeah.
It's like either or. They're like, this isn't gonna I gotta get firewood, dude. I
Yeah.
can't dick with this.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like an emotional strength. I feel like we are emotionally stronger cuz back in the day if they saw like a girl's ankle, they flip out. And like now we're like seeing naked women all over and we're just like, "Okay,
God.
it's another
You could
day."
literally look up 100 women in the same room,
Yeah.
just in naked, and that's insane that probably most of them, got paid for it,
Totally. Totally. It's a
And
different world, man.
dude, it's such a different world. I just think that like I don't know, even lights, like back then, like imagine having to carry, like imagine if we just set up lanterns everywhere.
Ugh,
It's
had
just
to light that stuff and it knocks down and your house burns on fire. I mean, that like there's
oh,
just
and the people have died that way so many times. It's like how did they die? Oh, their house caught on fire because they tipped the lantern over.
I
Fuck,
mean,
that's the 7th time this week.
it's funny, but it's funny, but it's not funny.
I mean, it's not
Dude,
funny,
my
but
default, dude. That's one thing that's really bad about me is my default is always laughter, even if it's like awkward, even
I
if
think
it's like a totally shitty situation.
that's a mental thing.
Yeah.
I definitely relate to it. My thing is like sarcasm.
Oh,
Like I
yeah.
could receive the worst news and then I could just immediately cut to a joke and be like, well,
Yeah,
what are you gonna do about it?
yeah, yeah,
There's
yeah.
really nothing. Like even when I am in horrible situations, man. I remember my grandmother's funeral. We were taking some bad photos on her casket. She would have loved it too. She was a jokester as well.
Yeah, it's appropriate for the person.
Yes, of course. You know, I mean,
And that's one thing that doesn't get taken into account. I feel like when all these, like we're talking about social media, and everyone's judging based on their spectrum or their view of the world. But
yeah.
like, imagine if you put photos up on the internet of you kind of mocking somebody's casket that you knew personally, and you were like, you were certain that this person would probably be laughing just right with you, you know, if they were there in the room. And then that gets put on the internet, and somebody, all they see is just somebody defacing a casket, and they're just like up in arms and like
And they're
pissed
so
off.
attached to it for some reason.
They don't understand the relationship at all.
Listen, I'm telling you guys this right now. I don't know which camera to let. This one right here because it's pointing at me.
You're that one.
If I die, especially die young, I want you to come to my wedding, or I'm sorry, my funeral. It like fucked up, dude.
Yeah.
Slap your band sticker on my coffin. I want you to write your name on it. I want you to piss in my grave. Like, go ahead and just be like, yo, I gotta pee real quick. Where can I go? Just throw it in the hole, dude. I'll take you down with me.
Dude, have you heard of those new people that new thing where people are getting buried in the roots of a tree?
I have heard about that. That's
Isn't that crazy?
Just recently, and I don't know how I feel about that because I don't know. I just don't want to be attached to a tree. I don't know.
It's a little weird. It's a little
I haven't
weird.
really decided what I wanted to do when I die.
I think I'm headed towards cremation because
I think that's the new form because I feel like it's just not sustainable burying people all the time. And plus let's be real. There's a lot of unimportant people buried, you know? And so I think just we're putting people in the ground and marking like a 6x6 area for them. And they've had no contribution to society. People don't visit their grave no more. Pretty soon, we're going to be digging those people up, and we're just going to cremate them. That's the reality.
But even like I think, like you said, and we were just talking about earlier, nobody really knows what happens after death. No. And like, who knows how conscious and alive the body remains after we, as a scientific community, determine it dead, right?
It'd be fucking wild, though.
So
it'd be wild if we're like, man, I'm here.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So in my mind, I'm like, just freaking burn me up. I don't even like the idea that I'm like trapped in this body until it just goes into the earth or whatever. Like,
it's so weird. I mean, like, I've also like thought about it too. Like, isn't it weird that we can only tap into our own body? You would think if we're tapping into something, we could go into somebody else's body by accident or on purpose.
Well,
but instead it's like we're the tether.
We're
not the source.
There obviously in the Bible, if it's true, there's mention of like other conscious beings getting inside of other bodies, right? If that's true. Mm-hmm. So obviously there was either stories or some historical...
That's called schizophrenia.
Yeah, it could be schizophrenia. Yeah, you're right. We don't know what... Okay, anyways, I don't know where I was going with that. I was just saying, you know, we can, because we can feel each other's emotions. Like, you ever been in a room and you just like know... Like, this is a shitty situation. I don't know what's going on. Like, imagine you're in a room with two other people, or you just walk into a room with two other people. You can almost instantly feel like what was happening.
There's definitely like a collective consciousness.
Yeah.
That we're all going through, and that's why, because like, it's so hard. I mean, like with what we're going through in at least our society.
Yeah.
You know, it's very stressful right now, more than it's ever been in the past 30 years.
Yeah, for sure.
On a day-to-day basis, and that's why it's so hard for people to just like not give a shit.
Yeah.
Because everybody gives a shit, and we are really attached to this global consciousness.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, there's things that we don't know that are going on in certain countries, but
for sure.
You know, but like I just think like from what we see, it's really hard. You know, if even if the world was shitty and all you did was watch happy content on the internet
Yeah.
and just abstained from like looking at that bad stuff, you would still feel shitty because I feel like you're still connected
Yeah, I think
and you
that's
would still
true.
sense a bit of that.
There's also like that individual ability to like we were talking about the people that lived back in the day. If they saw somebody's ankles, they freaked out. If you close your eyes to all the stuff that's bad, and you're just trying to pretend like it's not there, it doesn't go away. So then when you're faced with it, you're either going to be strong enough to man through it, or you're gonna cower and just like
Yeah.
freeze up. And like I think that's where I'm at. Like I feel like regardless of whether I like the fact that something like there's an idea out there that I don't agree with, I have to face it and I have to open my eyes to it and read and try to dive deep and understand it, because that's the only way that I feel strong enough to not lose my shit when when it's in my face,
Yeah.
So
Going back to looking at girls' ankles though, man, imagine what it would be like back then.
yeah, I imagine it was like,
Imagine like, oh,
remember when you were a kid and it was just so
ankles, dog.
dude. I mean, when we were kids, it was exciting to see, like, even just like to touch a girl,
Anything,
even though like
dude, even if a girl wore
she
like a
brushed,
shirt that had shorter sleeves than normal, dude, you're like, what is this?
well, even like when you brushed up against a girl that you kind of liked, you're like like that feeling, like,
dude, I even more than that, I wish I lived in the 1700s and I was gay, like gay as fuck.
that's
How
a little
awesome-
wild. That's
how-
out there. You have to explain that one.
How awesome would it be to just be like, we cannot do this. We can't do this, but we're doing it. That would be insane. Just like the first time smoking weed, you remember your first
Yes.
time? Oh my
Yes.
God, if my parents found out,
Dude.
they'd kill me. Like, dude, it's the same thing. Like, oh my God, they
Dude.
could kill us for doing this. And you're just doing it anyway.
Dude, those feelings, man. They go. That's what's so fun about being a kid, and that's why I think everybody wants to go back to being a kid.
Yeah.
It's like just experiencing life for the first time is like, that's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. It's also very hard. It's very
it's
hard.
true. Yeah, I mean, I obviously.
I'm one of those people that wish I'd never. I'm marching straight to the grave. I'm not looking back. I've never wanted to get young again, and I feel like it's because I'm like on this journey of growth.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm always like, I gotta grow. I gotta do this.
Yeah.
I gotta learn this, and I gotta.
Yeah, for sure.
And like, I'm so ashamed of things that I've done as a kid. Just like even like picking my nose in front of people, like
Totally.
I'd rather not look back. I'm just going forward, because the thing about youth is you're stupid,
Yeah.
so you're just a whole lot of dumb,
Yeah, for sure.
and I like getting wiser. I feel like I'm like that's the goal in life, is to gracefully age into this wisdom
I would agree with you.
rather than reminiscing on your past and youth.
I would agree with you, and that I think that's one of the reasons I started this podcast. Is I have a really. This is why I'm not particularly super rich, but I just believe that when there's something I can't do, or there's something like I'm like weak at, I go for it. Like I do. Like to me, talking.
yeah.
I feel like talking is one of the weakest points of my life. Like as a person,
Tell me about it.
And
Tell me about
so
it. When you
I
start
started
putting your ass on a camera,
Yes.
and then you watch it back, that's when you realize, oh, I suck.
Yes, and that's where it's weird just to be in that position, and that's why I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever be super successful and rich according to the world, but I feel like I want to be just a dope ass dude, and talking is something I need to get better at.
So, I actually used to be very socially awkward as a child, and for a while, still not the brightest person. But you know what really helps you out with that?
Yeah.
Reading books.
Oh yeah.
Read books. I'm talking. Do your research.
Yeah, for
Find
sure.
some good books. There's one book in particular that I'm reading right now. It's called "Never Split the Difference" by Chris Voss.
Okay.
He's an ex-hostage negotiator.
Oh, that's
and
dope.
he really.
I think I saw that dude on class once.
I think
might-
he
he
does
might
have a master class.
I watched a couple of his
I think he
videos.
does, or he does he does a lot of seminars,
Yeah.
and it's just interesting how talking and conversating, it's not just a thing we do; it's a martial art.
Yeah, totally.
You can really bend people into without gaslighting them and
Yeah,
manipulating them.
Right.
There's a way that you can manipulate something so that not only you get what you want, but people feel good about giving you what you want. Or
Right.
like, making them feel comfortable
Yeah.
or making them feel good about themselves. And it's there's more books on it too, on persuasion and negotiation and communication. But that's like the one book, and it's an easy read.
Yeah.
It's good for dummies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I grew up. I mean, I was Mormon, right? So I did the 2-year mission thing,
Oh wow. Yeah.
and we talked all the time. But it was, I just felt like a lot of times it was ingenuine, and there was always this end goal feeling like I have to submit this person.
Oh yeah.
And like so you're reading all these things and trying to become a better negotiator, or you're trying to find all these tools to kind of submit people into doing what you want, but like I don't know. There's this point where you learn the techniques, and you use those techniques to submit people into things that you don't really want them to be submitted into, and then there's a part where you get past learning the techniques and you realize, like, you can use the techniques but also be a pure person at the same time, and that's where I'm kind of getting to right now, where I don't want to focus on just the techniques and like doing all this stuff to submit people, but I want to have the tools in my arsenal so that I can spread the most joy, the most inspiration towards people, rather than like telling them to do something I want them to do. Because I think inspiration is the currency that is the most important to go after, inspiring people.
Oh yeah.
It's not bringing people to church. It's not raising your numbers, getting a ton of money. I mean, obviously that stuff's nice and you want it a little bit, but it can't be the pure motivation behind why you're trying to talk to somebody, or you just want to inspire them and make them feel good.
Well, some people are like a numbers to paper type of dude.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then some others are just go after it because of the feeling that
Yeah.
they get from it. And so it's very important for you to discern which one you are and know what you want.
Yeah. That's true.
Because if you are just a numbers type of person, you're not going to feel good about what you're doing.
Yeah.
Especially if it doesn't work out for you.
Yeah.
But, that's why I'm really like touched by those type of people who are like, if I could just change one person's life,
Yeah.
it'll mean the different. Like
Yeah,
that's the type of
I'm
person
not-
you really want to be.
I'm not that
Sometimes I'm
far.
like, okay, shut up. But
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
same time too, I'm like, there is some genuinity in that.
Yeah.
So
You're expressing a very deep point, and that's cool, but I know that if you went through your whole life and all you had was, at the end of your life, if you legitimately only helped one person,
Yeah.
you would not feel good about that. At least for me.
And I feel bad to say this too, but I've dogged on some Mormons before. I feel
That's
so
fine.
bad.
I get it. It's weird. It's
I
a weird
feel-
religion.
Oh man, when you open the door and it's just two dudes and fucking two dudes, and they got bikes too, and oh no,
Dude.
how am I? It's like telemarketers that you can't like really hang up on unless
Yes.
you're like super rude to them.
Dude, totally.
And it's like one time I had to, I was, guys, I gotta go, and I shut the door. And then they just stood on the stoop and just were talking.
Really?
And I was like, and then they kind of like backed away from the door, but then they were like, oh, no. I didn't know what they were saying. But they were there for a while. And I'm like, oh God, do I got to tell them to like leave?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
But I've dogged on some Mormons, man. I'm so sorry to those poor Mormons.
Hey.
They would not shut up. But
Hey, maybe they deserved it, man. It's individual. It's individual basis. Some of them are cool and some of them are
just
screwed up.
when they hand you a pamphlet, you instinctively go,
Yeah.
and like you feel bad for saying no. I don't want your paper. I'm going to immediately throw it away later. And then see, like when I was living with my parents, my goal was to not let my Catholic mother come to the door.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes I had, so one time I had to slam the door on them. I was like, "Oh, my mom's coming! We gotta go," because she's ruthless to them.
Really?
My mother is like,
that's awesome.
She's super Catholic. Like
Yeah.
she wears the C pendant on her chest, and it's oh man, like
Dude,
you do not want to be Mormon and talk to my mother because she will. She like, hey, let's pull out the gavel. Let's debate this right now. So my goal when I was living at home was, to be a little mean to the Mormons, but also protect them.
Yeah.
So any Mormons that came to my house that dogged on, that I dogged on, I'm sorry, but I was protecting you.
Yeah.
I was protecting you.
I get it. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Hey, it's a weird thing. I get it. I know we even as a Mormon, we know it's like it's a weird thing to do going on mission. So
yeah,
it's part of the challenge, and maybe it's good for that's where it's like maybe it's good that I did that. Regardless of where my beliefs lie now, it was a growing experience. Regardless,
you get to travel.
That's
always cool.
You get
I feel bad for people that travel to my hometown of Woodland.
Yeah,
not really much of a destination, but
yeah, but there's also like. In everything you do, whether you like it or not, there's always something to learn, and that's kind of that's where
you can take away anything from anything.
Yeah,
even people that I don't like.
Yeah,
I always learn a lesson from them. I had this evil person. I used to work at a pot farm, and I hated this person. I wanted her to, well, I wanted her to go back, clock out before she was born.
Okay,
let's just say. And, one time I did something that was really bad. Like, I accidentally broke something.
Okay.
I was like, I'm so sorry. And she turns to me and she says, don't ever apologize to me. Just don't fucking do it again. And ever since that, I, stood there and I was like, oh, what's the point of apologizing if I'm going to do it again? I just need to not do it again. And so, I don't know. I felt like that was a
puts
changing
pressure on you.
Yeah. And so, it was just this growing moment of apologies are essentially worthless, And if you can be genuine, but if you're going to do it again,
I know.
Why even apologize the first time?
Dude, it totally makes sense.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, though. This is where that philosophy is. It's important. I'm not saying it's a bad philosophy, but it's also important to realize that, just because you mess up on the same thing over and over again, doesn't mean you're a bad person. And I think that's sometimes what the feeling I get when people yell, tell me you can't apologize, just don't do it again. It's well, it's easy for something simple don't get in a crash. Okay, freak, I won't get in a crash, or but it. You never know.
Habits and behaviors is what that really applies to.
Yeah, it doesn't really apply to. I mean, it kind of does, but there's some habits are really hard to beat. As much as you want to say sorry for the fact that you have this bad habit, it's easy to say sorry. It's hard to get over it, and that's where I don't know. I guess you want to make people feel good about saying sorry.
Yeah.
Because whether they're genuine or not. I don't know. Just try to be more compassionate towards somebody that's trying their best, whether they mess up on the same thing over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's one thing also if they're draining you, right?
Yeah.
That's a line you don't want to cross. But if they're if they're smoking and they're trying to get better at it, and it's not affecting you, then try to be encouraging.
Yeah. Wow.
Anyways,
life is hard.
It is.
Life is hard among all things.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So we've been ranting for 30 minutes at least. 40
minutes. I could keep going.
I know.
Let's go 6 hours. Fuck it. Let's do an all-nighter now.
We'll try to cap it at an hour.
That's typically how my podcasts go. We go for about an hour, and then that's when the show starts falling apart. See, the thing with my show, if you ever tune into it on a regular basis, you'll notice that about about an hour in, that's when like, the SD cards start running out of memory,
Yep.
the batteries start dying,
Totally.
the boom arms start falling off the tables. It's just like that's just how it goes
That's totally
sometimes.
it. That's totally
So
it.
that's the DIY podcasts though.
Yeah.
Everyone, like, I've seen some DIYers that like put out 3-hour podcasts, and I'm just amazed because like nothing breaks.
Oh, I know.
I've had cameras fall like
Oh,
right off the tripod, just
dude.
like an hour in. It was like a ghost pushed it over, and
Dude.
it's like, damn.
It's so maddening.
Yeah, dude, being a content creator is probably it's so stressful.
Yeah.
I absolutely hate it and love it sometimes. I only love the complete product, and like sometimes like filming.
Yeah.
Podcasting's fun. Formatting the podcast, it's a little different. Filming a 15-minute video,
Yeah.
that's a lot of fun. Doing this 4 hours of editing,
Yeah. Totally.
not a lot of fun. And so, and it's not like editing isn't, or at least for my videos, maybe for some content you can, but like it's not one of those things where you can just slap on some headphones and just like get in the mode.
Yeah. It's
Like,
a
no,
big.
you really have to watch. You have to listen to yourself talk for a long time.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. There's a lot to be done. I mean, not only the technical stuff, but the content itself. Like us sitting here for an hour and trying to fill an hour's worth of time with whatever the hell's on our head. You
Yeah.
know, that's
I can do it.
difficult.
That's easy.
Yeah, for you.
That's real easy because I take after my mother a lot. It just comes out, but see, like after an hour, then it starts to become offensive. Like
Yeah.
yeah. These people don't deserve this, and it's just like, whoa, we got to cut the podcast off.
So when did you start getting into the YouTubing and podcasting?
So it started at the start of COVID. It actually the year,
Okay.
COVID happened actually, 2 years from what today the 15th or something.
Oh,
like
yeah,
that.
that's
I think
crazy.
so.
It's the 12th.
Okay, well,
I don't know
it's
the
coming-
official date.
I think you know what I played a show the night before, and then the next day it was like everything canceled. And I remember talking to the band like, "Whoa, things are fucked." But I was in this band and we were like really hitting it hard and stuff. And then like COVID happened and everything just stopped. The band kind of fizzled out, or at least my position in it. I just like stopped doing it. And so we started doing YouTube in April of 2020. And we actually uploaded our first video on 420.
Nice.
Unintentionally too. It was just like that. Like, what are we gonna do? We're gonna do it on Mondays. That was our original schedule. Was Mondays.
Right.
And so, we uploaded it, and it was like, all right, 420. Well, that's the day of the first meme review that I ever did, and it was just me like reading memes,
Yeah.
and that was it. Very poor.
Do you have a
editing.
team you have, or is it just
So it's me, and then I have my best friend in the whole wide world, Tristan. He kind of is like YouTube culture. We were both into like YouTube culture, so we like watched a lot of YouTube. And I was fortunate with him to like for the first 8 months to a year,
Yeah.
he would edit all my videos for me because he was just really good at editing.
That's cool.
And then it got to a point where like, he got really busy with some of his projects. He's also moving to Japan.
No way.
Yeah, it's crazy. And so it wasn't sustainable if he were to keep doing it. And so that's when I took over the editing and he taught me some things, and then I kind of like ran with it. And so we were doing that for about a year, about a half a year, maybe like 8 months, 9 months. And then that's when we started the podcast. And that was when Joe Rogan was like, boom.
Yeah.
Like that was when it was like, that's when people started to get annoyed of Joe Rogan.
Right.
Because before everyone knew who Joe Rogan was, and
Yeah.
a lot of people knew what his podcast was. But that's when he started to get annoying. And that's when a lot of people like me who were like, bro, we should start a podcast. And so that's, the origin of that. We really wanted to like ride the wave. And, we knew it was going to change throughout time. And, I like how it's evolving for a while. Now, a over the past while. We've gone through some dips in our pride of these projects because I bring on guests a lot to my podcast.
Right.
But when the Delta variant was coming up,
Oh yeah.
that was when people were getting a little. That's when I got cancellations. I never get cancellations on my podcast.
Yeah.
That's when people started to cancel. That's when people never say no to go on my podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not reaching up high. I'm not asking celebrities or nothing. But but that's when people were like, I don't want to make an appearance because I don't want to go outside. And so it was like, so I was doing it by myself for a little bit. And that was fun. And now just recently we started bringing on guests and stuff.
Did you ever try doing the virtual podcast or where they're on Zoom or something?
What the fuck is that?
The Zoom and stuff where you're on the Zoom?
No, I don't really like to do Zoom podcasts or Skype podcasts. And the reason why is because there's this connection that you have with somebody in person.
Yeah.
I'm not totally opposed to it, but I mean, if you live 7 miles from my house,
oh yeah, for sure.
You're gonna
yeah, come, yeah. Somebody if somebody was that close and they wanted to do a Zoom, I'd be like, go fuck yourself.
They would have to be a celebrity,
yeah,
or they would have to be from Ukraine in Ukraine currently. That's
exactly.
That's all I'm doing on Skype.
Yeah, totally.
Because I also don't I just get so sketched out because I've never had a perfect call. Yeah. On Zoom or anything. There's always that
yeah,
or
for sure.
There's that lack of quality. I mean, I have great mics and everything, but not everybody has a great mic.
Yeah,
Sometimes they're just using the mic on their laptop, and then
it's still getting filtered through the computer speakers,
Yeah, and so
or whatever.
It's not cool.
Yeah, I know.
And so but
what's the name of your podcast?
It's just the Xris Beltran podcast. That's it. It's just me.
What's your main avenue, or would you use YouTube mostly, or
So I use YouTube. I have been uploading to Spotify. Recently.
Is that through Anchor? You guys do Anchor?
No, I use Buzzsprout.
Okay.
Which I recommend, but I've never used anything else.
Oh, yeah,
so,
yeah,
I mean, I can't really say it's better. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, I've watched a lot of YouTube videos, and they recommended Buzzsprout.
Okay,
so,
cool.
That's the one that I use.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's, and I do a lot of Instagram.
Nice.
Instagram's the other thing,
I saw your Instagram stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
I did
you.
go through that stuff.
Okay,
There's
good.
a lot of fun clips on there.
There are. There's some out of pocket content too, but you got to search for it. So
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I used to do a lot of TikTok, but I stopped abruptly and didn't go back. I used to make it wasn't total cringe content.
Okay.
I wasn't singing to lyrics
Right.
or anything like that. I was making like 5 to 10 second sketches off of the sound clips that were popping. Because back then, last year, there was just those sound clips where you would say something, or there was a song and then the drop and then the punchline reveal. And that's kind of what I did for a while, but I kind of feel like that stuff is not going to age well. I refuse to take it off.
Right.
I'm going to keep it up no matter how cringe it gets. But as of lately and, looking back, I just kind of feel like a lot of TikTok content is going to be very cringe. It's not going to be like Vine or anything like that.
Yeah, a lot of it's there's a lot of kind of wannabe content on there where it's
yeah.
And you're like, it's crazy, these dudes. You know what's the weirdest trend right now? Is the people that just stare into the screen and half the screen is their face and half the screen is another video that's actually funny. And they're like,
and they're just
literally
don't add to the content.
Yeah.
That's the worst part about it.
Yes. They're not there's some guys that don't even smile. It's just
it's really there's people that are making money,
dude,
finding memes.
Yeah.
Putting that picture on the video and then recording that corner of the room.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
And I mean, the memes are funny.
Right, yeah,
Memes are
but
funny.
people are
But
totally
it's like
they're
not
writing
their meme.
it's totally like copyright infringement, 100%.
And dude, it's the wild fucking west right now.
Dude, totally.
I have a meme page actually that I never plan to monetize. These are
Okay.
just memes that genuinely make me laugh.
Is that Instagram or?
It's on Instagram. It's called Shut Up Chris. It's in my bio on my regular Instagram.
Okay.
But definitely recommend you follow it. I don't give no credit to nobody. I just screenshot shit and crop it and post it.
Yeah.
And that's it. I don't do anything else. I never plan on monetizing. No matter how big that page gets, I will never monetize it. Just because I'm breaking the fucking rules. I'm breaking the rules on there.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. But, I love meme culture.
It is what it is, right? Yeah, I mean, it's funny in general. I mean, it's like weird because, you used to be able to sit around the dinner table and share your jokes that you heard from work, and that was it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's kind of the same thing. It's just weird now because somehow money's got in the middle of it, and it just makes it more complicated. But essentially, that's what people are doing, is they're just sharing jokes.
The whole fuck Jerry controversy that was like a few years ago.
Yeah.
Way to go them. They're great. They're doing great. They're
Yeah.
making so much money off of posting other people's shit and not really giving credit on it, which is cool.
Yeah.
But one of my TikToks though. Last story before we get out of here. I don't know how much time we got left.
About 5 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did a magic trick in front of my mom's dog, and it went fucking viral.
Really?
Fucking viral. Like 2 million views,
No shit.
3 million views, like hundreds of thousands of likes. It got out. I'm jumping all over the place.
Yeah, it's okay.
It got picked up by a lot of meme pages and everything. It actually got picked up by a Japanese television show, Sakagami Animal Kingdom.
That's crazy.
And I'll show you the video after we're done with this podcast because I legally cannot show it on the internet. Legally,
Because they put it on there.
Because I had to sign the right of way, and then because their stuff, their content is copied, because they added to it too. They added subtitles as if the dog was talking.
So they took the video. They
took my
totally
video.
own it. You can't do
own it, and I can't. Well, I mean, I have the original TikTok,
Right.
but the Japanese video, I can't show that on the internet. Now, people can hit me up, and I could.
Did they pay you
I
for
may
it?
send it to you.
Yeah.
No, they didn't pay me for it.
Did they you didn't?
They just said, "Hey, can we use this? We won't pay you, but if you say no, we can't use it." And I thought to myself, I don't care.
And so they had you sign something.
Digitally sign something.
Okay.
And they don't own the video, but they own the video. I have my regular TikTok, that's mine, but they plastered it with pop-ups and shit like that.
Interesting.
And but ever since then I kind of learned a lot about signing away the rights to certain TikToks and everything, and when shit gets viral, and it's a weird economy.
Yeah,
And,
you almost have to stand your ground and not get too excited that somebody's gonna
but-
get.
I thought, because I'm going to go visit Tristan in Japan when he moves over there. And I'm 6'7".
Yeah.
So I know the minute I step off the plane, I'm going to be a celebrity.
Right.
So I'm trying to push me in Japan. That's how people kind of go worldwide. Japan is the market that I'm going for. And
Yeah,
I'm
that's
going to hit
smart.
Japan right after I hit the United States.
That's smart.
I'm not even going to the UK. Fuck them, I'm going Japan. But yeah, so
Awesome.
But
That's a good market.
yeah,
Japan
yeah.
and UK, they're the best online market for some reason.
They could be, yeah.
Is it because they're on an island and they don't
just
know
do
how
all
to?
they can get, dude.
Yeah.
They don't have a Harlem in the UK.
Totally.
So basketball is fucking dope, dude.
Yeah.
There's no Harlem in Tokyo.
Dude, that's
They
so
don't
funny.
got a downtown Chicago in Tokyo.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
too clean down there.
Yeah.
They ain't ever gonna have those type of athletes.
Yeah. That's so
But
funny.
yeah, that's just the way life works, I guess.
Yeah, totally. All right. Well, I think we're heading towards the end here.
That's great. Before we head out, I just want to say, follow me on Instagram and Twitter, please. I'm addicted to social media, so I need as many likes and clicks as I can. It helps my addiction. Also, subscribe to me on YouTube. That's the main thing. If you're like, nah, I'm only choosing one, choose YouTube for me, please. That is where I could get paid eventually someday. But yeah, and then I have music up on Spotify too, Xris Beltran. It's spelled Xris Beltran. Beltran. So, yeah, just Google me. Just Google me. I've made it there at that point. So you can just Google my name and find a random hosh posh of crap made by me. So yes, but thank you so much, Christian, for having me.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Bee farm is dope. Like I said before we started recording, this place literally looks like an iPad. This garage looks like an iPad. It's colorful. Kids would love it here. I don't recommend dropping them off by themselves. Definitely accompany them if you're a parent. But other than this place looks dope. This is a cool studio.
Thanks for coming. I
Yeah,
appreciate
for
it.
sure.
You're welcome back anytime.
Yee.
All right.